All right, everybody. Today we will be working on lesson 6 in booklet 3, that is calculating tax. This is the final lesson in booklet 3, and then you will be ready to write the review and the test. Now, we can use percentages to calculate how much tax we will be paying on an item that we are buying. Tax is a small or sometimes fairly large amount of money that we pay extra on most items that we buy. This extra money goes to the government, which in turn will be used to put back into the community. Things like fixing up our roads, things like the medical system, our taxes go into that. As it is now, we pay an extra 13% on our products in what we call harmonized sales tax. So if you need to calculate exactly how much money you're paying for something, you need to know how to calculate 13% more than what the price tag says in the store. How does that work? Now, please remember in this lesson that the magic number is 13. We pay 13% extra for everything. But we can't use percentages for math unless they're in decimal form. So let's do that first. Example 1. Calculate the HST, calculate the tax on a DVD that costs $26.20. Step 1, if we want to use tax, it needs to be in decimal form. 13% in decimal form is 0.13, divide by 100. Step 2, multiply 0.13 by the price of the product. In this case, that is 26.20. And so let me pull up my calculator. .13 times 26.20 is equal to 3.406. Okay? Now, this is money. This is the extra money that we will be paying. And it's important to remember that money does not have 3 decimal places. Money normally only has 2. So I want you to keep this in mind and always round to the nearest cent. That's a concept that we learned in Unit 1. Rounding to the nearest cent means to round the second decimal the second number after the decimal. So in this case, we round the 0 using the 6. And we are going to get a final answer of $3.41. Okay? Now, it's important to realize $3.41 isn't the final bill. That is the extra money that we're paying on top of the DVD price, the $26.20. In these next 2 examples, just calculate the tax and then come back here and check that your answers match mine. Let's start with example A. What is the tax on a t-shirt that costs $15.50? At this point, we know that our percentage needs to be in decimal form. I'm not going to keep showing that math. I'm just going to write 0.13 times 15.50. Plug that into a calculator, and you get 2.015, which is equal to, because we're rounding to the nearest cent, $2.02. That is the extra money that I am paying on top of my t-shirt. Again, remember, we're rounding to the nearest cent, which is the second number after the decimal. The next problem, we want the tax on a CD that costs $21.99. That would be 13% of $21.99. And 13% of $21.99 is the same thing as 0.13. We use decimal form, times instead of, and then the price $21.99. This is equal to 2.8587. This is the extra money that we're paying. I don't need 4 decimals, I only need 2. So I round to the nearest cent. The 5 is going to round up because of the 6, giving me $2.86. Now, this is great, but what we really want is to find the final price with tax. And calculating the final price of an item after tax is a very similar process with one step added to the end. Let me show you what I mean. Calculate the total price with tax of a video game that costs $39.50. As usual, we convert 13 into a decimal. We all know that's 0.13 by now. And as usual, we'll take 0.13 and multiply that by the cost, $39.50. 0.13 times $39.50 is equal to 5.135. Now, if you're getting really good at rounding, which hopefully you are, you can just round this before you write it down, right? You don't need to write 5.135 if in your head you recognize it is just 5.14. So $5.14, that's the extra amount. In order to get the total price, we need to add the extra amount to our original cost, and we get the final amount, which is $44.64. So to find the final price, calculate the amount of tax that you'll be paying, multiply it by 0.13, and then add it on to the original price. I'm going to solve question A the same way, and then I'm going to give you a really handy shortcut for question B. Question A, total cost of jacket that costs $45 after tax. Step 1, we're going to take 13% of $45 and 0.13 times 45 is equal to $5.85. No rounding necessary here. Step 2, we're going to take the $5.85. We're going to add it to the original amount, which is $45. And we're going to get a final price of $50.85. So if I was making a therefore statement, I might say, therefore, the price of the jacket after tax is $50.85. Great. So now I'm going to teach you a shortcut which will save you some time when you calculate the final price after tax. Instead of multiplying by 13%, what we're going to do is we are going to try multiplying by 113%. Why 113%? What does this mean? Well, the idea is that we're paying for 100%. Okay? We're paying for 100% of the original price. Which means that we're paying for all of it, right? We're paying for the entire thing. In this case, it would be the shoes. That's $95.88. Now, on top of the original price, we're paying an extra 13%. That's our tax. So if I wanted to calculate both at the same time, I would say 100% for the product itself, 13% extra, that is 113%, or 1.13 if I wanted to write that in decimal form. Now, everything I've written so far is just me explaining. What you need to write down is in blue. 1.13 times 95.88. Give me a second to plug this into my calculator. This is equal to 108.34. And I've already rounded that number for you. So if you're using this second method, you only need one step. Multiply the price by 113%, or 1.13, and you have your new price with tax. Now at this point, I would like you to go to the back of your book where you have a reference page that looks like this. This is a cheat sheet that you can use in order to remember how to apply tax, but it needs a little bit of filling in. Remember, you can calculate tax the long way, or you can calculate tax the short way. This goes over both. Let's start with the long way. Step 1, multiply your total by 0.13. What is the exact tax on a t-shirt that costs $25? Well, 25 times 0.13 is equal to 3.25. Okay, let me rewrite that so it's not going over the margins. 25 times 0.13 is equal to $3.25. That's the extra money that I'm paying for tax. Step 2, add that to the original amount. That is $3.25 plus $25 is equal to $28.25. Remember that the short way to solve this is simply multiply your total by 1.13 instead of 0.13. Now remember, this goes straight to the final price with tax. So 25 times 1.13 is equal to 28.25. So it's great that you can jump to the final answer, but please remember, if you want just the extra money, but not the final price, you need to take this step. Because our fast method, our shortcut, jumps straight to the final price. It does not tell us the extra money that we're paying. So if I just ask you for extra money, multiply by 0.13. But if I ask you for the final price, multiply by 1.13. All right, that's all for today. Take some time filling in the worksheet for lesson 6 and make sure to let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.